Good day. My name is Alicia McLaughlin, and today I will be presenting on the psychosocial development theory by Erik Erikson. Erikson was a German-born eco-psychologist who was known for his theory of psychosocial development of all human beings. Erikson focused on how culture and society can conflict with the ego. Erikson says a person's ability to overcome crisis determines the ego and the success of it, whether it be positive or negative. Erikson does not mention the psychosexual stages in the Freudian theory. However, he does believe in this theory. Whereas Freud goes from adolescence and skips to death, Erikson expounds upon this notion and incorporates more psychosocial stages that is on the continuum of the lifespan. He states there is more room and time for growth and development over the human life. With this being said, there are 8 psychosocial developmental stages that Erikson presents. The first one being trust versus mistrust. Second, autonomy versus shame. Third, initiative versus guilt. 4, industry versus inferiority. 5, identity versus role confusion. 6, intimacy versus love. 7, generativity versus stagnation. And 8, ego integrity versus despair. In these stages, Erikson states there will be a crisis. If the child is able to overcome the crisis, they will be able to move successfully and positively in the next progression. However, if the child does not have a sense of true progression and they feel negative within their thoughts and their progression, the child moves on negatively into the next progression or next stage. The first stage, being trust versus mistrust, is from 0 to 18 months. This is when a child is born, a baby. There are blank canvas and waiting to be painted. If a child cries and he is held, fed, changed, pet, he feels a sense of trust. However, if the child does not feel this, he cries and no one picks him up or changes him or feeds him or loves on him, he will feel a sense of mistrust. If the child moves on positively into the next progression, he will gain a sense of autonomy. If the child moves on negatively, he will move on to a sense of shame. This would be from age 18 months to 3 years. This is when the child is being assertive in their independence. The child is crawling, walking, picking up toys, saying or showing what they want to wear. The child is beginning to feel autonomous. If the parent is allowing the child to go through this stage and feel it, and allow the child to experience this, the child will feel autonomous. I can do it. However, if the child feels he cannot do it, whether because the teacher or the parent is always rushing them, there's not enough time, there's no patience, the child will feel shame and feel as if they cannot do it. In this stage, you must allow the child to fail, but not fail so many times that he feels like a failure. The next stage, initiative versus guilt. This is age 3 to 5. This is when the child is walking, talking, can insert themselves. They're starting to ask questions, 50 million and one questions. If the child is allowed to ask these questions and the parent gives them answers and validates their feelings, the child will feel competent in their actions and what they're doing. However, if they feel ignored, they feel like I'm asking all these questions and my mom doesn't want to answer it, they feel like a nuisance, the child is going to feel guilty. They're going to feel like, okay, no one has time for me. If they move on positively in the next stage, they will gather a sense of industry or competence. If not, they move on to a stage of inferiority. I can't do it. This is from age 5 to 12. This is school age. This is when the child is going to school, trying to make friends, seeing where they fit in. If the child is successful at making friends and everyone likes him, the child feels competent. They can do it. They feel good about themselves. They feel encouraged. If the child can't do it or can't find friends and don't fit in, they will feel incompetent. A lot of this has to do with the parent and the teacher. If they are harsh or not allowing the child to develop and being overly critical, the child will feel this way and they will feel like they can't do anything. They'll feel incompetent. If they move in positively into the next stage, they will gain a sense of identity. If not, they will be confused. They will have role confusion. This is from 12 to 18, the teenage years, when a person or a child is trying to figure out who they are, where they fit into society. There is an ancient African proverb that says, "Man, know thyself." In this, they're trying to gain fidelity. They're trying to gain where they belong, where they fit in into society. And if they go through this successfully and they do fit in, they will feel competent in this area. If not, they will have identity crisis. There will be confusion. The child will not know who they are. If no one is allowing them to experience these things and not being overly critical, it all goes to this. If the child feels validated, they will have a sense of confidence. If not, the child would have a sense of guilt, shame, inferiority, confusion, and they will not know where they fit in. The next stage, stage 5, is intimacy versus isolation. In this stage, the child or the human, the person, is 18 to 40. They're a young adult. In this stage, they're trying to find one partner, one person to love, one person to be with, one person to commit. If they can do this successfully, they will come out with a sense of love. If not, the person will be promiscuous. They will not be able to settle down. They will feel a sense of needing someone. And they will never have someone because they are too busy trying to be with so many other people. They will end up in their later years being isolated, not having anyone, being alone. That's how they will feel, a sense of loneliness. The next stage, stage 7, generativity versus stagnation, is age 40 to 65. This stage is when you're feeling a sense of, wow, I was productive in my life, or I'm being productive, or wow, I wasn't productive, I'm being unproductive. In this stage, you're trying to provide for the next generation. You're trying to provide for your children. You're looking for your grandchildren. You want your children to be able to feel successful. So in this stage, you're feeling a sense of humility because you have provided for the next generation. You're caring. You're giving back to society. If not, you're going to feel unproductive. And you're going to feel like, oh, wow, I'm 40. I haven't done too many things. I haven't been productive in life. I need to change. This is a stage where a lot of reevaluation goes on. And people sometimes change their careers or they change in what they're doing because they're not happy. This is a good reflection time. The next stage is ego, integrity versus despair, which is from age 65 plus to the end of your life. If you have ego integrity, you have a sense of wisdom, completeness, acceptance. You look back on your life and you say, there may be some things that I could have done differently. However, I'm happy with the outcome. I provided for the generation after me. I've provided for my children. And I am accepting this stage, and I'm going in and moving into death and will be accepting of death because I know I did the best that I could over the span of my life. If not, you go into this stage with a sense of despair. Despair is all the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I can't change it. Oh man, I just messed up in life. However, you are afraid to accept death because you feel like you didn't do what you were supposed to do while you were alive. There's a lot of regrets in this stage if you're in the stage of despair. With this being said, this concludes the 8 psychosocial developmental stages of Erik Erikson. With this being said, he had a lot of critics and about his theory, and a lot of people say that his development stages were vague in the causes of development. There are no resolutions. So, okay, if this crisis come up, how are we going to resolve it? There are no resolutions in this theory. Other people also say, how does the psychosocial conflict influence the personality? There's nowhere in there where it says it influences personality. However, I would venture out to say that if you have had a positive experience in your life, you've moved into the different stages positively, you've progressed, you've done the things you've wanted to do, I would think that you would have a personality that is one of humility. You would feel humbled in how you've lived your life. You will feel validated in all the things you've done over your lifespan. However, if you have not done the things you wanted to do, you feel like you're ashamed of your life, you're guilty, you're confused, you feel as if you're in despair, I would think your personality would be more on the negative side because you don't feel like you've accomplished the things you wanted to do in life. You're afraid now because you're knowing that death is imminent, it's going to happen, and you did not live the way you want to live, and you want to change some things. So I think this would influence greatly your personality and how you behave and how you act and treat others. There are some strengths. There are strengths to this theory. It's the ability to tie together the important psychosocial development across the entire lifespan. Erikson does a great job on showing how there are going to be crises in each stage of your life. However, you're going to experience them, but it is up to you once you get to a certain age to decide how you're going to live in that. Are you going to be positive or are you going to be negative? With this being said, I would like to leave you guys with a couple of questions as far as an assessment. However, I want this assessment to be a reflective tool. I do not want it to be a test on your knowledge, really, but I want it to be something that you use to reflect on your life thus far. The first one is I want you to use an academic notebook or a journal to reflect on the stages of your life you've completed thus far. All of us, I believe, are at least in the 18, which is the intimacy and love stage, or the intimacy versus isolation stage, up until the ego integrity versus despair stage. So we're all in that 18 to 65 plus bracket, I believe. So if you guys could reflect on your life and how you feel about it thus far, that would be a good reflection tool for you to look at. I want to know, how will you change and redefine your life if you do not like what you see? If you don't like it, how are you going to change it? What are some of the things and tools and strategies and techniques that you're going to use to change your life? What are you going to do about it? And the last question is, have you had a productive life up until now? If you have, say how. If you have not, say how. And explain what you would do to change that differently. I really enjoyed this stage, being that I have 2 small children at home, 3 and 5. I am actually my children are right in that bracket, 3 to 5, which is autonomy versus shame, and initiative versus guilt stage. So looking at this really, really, really helped me look at how I treat my kids and how I act and interact with them. And I really enjoy doing this presentation. I've done it 10,001 times. So I hope that this is great. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing your reflections. Thank you, and have a great day.